one, a hyperbola and an ellipse given here share their foci. When the angle from the positive axis of one of the asymptotes of a hyperbola is 30 degrees, we're going to find the length of the transverse axis. Alright, so basically we're just trying to find this length here. Alright, and there's your vertices right there. Now the first thing we have to do is we note that our ellipse share the foci. So basically for an ellipse, you get the foci from c squared equals a squared minus b squared. And so that's going to be c squared equals 24 minus 16. Because your a squared equals 24 and your b squared equals 16. So that means our c, 24 minus c squared equals 8. And then when you square root both sides, you get c equals plus or minus square root of 2 square root of 2. Let's just write that. 2 square root of 2. So now they share the foci at f, 2 square root of 2, comma 0. Now it's going to be on the x-axis because our x is the lead, and that means our transverse axis is horizontal. And here's where your foci goes, right there. And then f prime is going to be negative 2 square root of 2, comma 0. All right. Now, given our hyperbola here, we're going to use c squared equals a squared plus b squared. So basically, our c squared is going to be 8. So you get 8 equals a squared plus b squared. Now we're going to call this equation 1. All right. Now, for the equations of the asymptotes, they're going to be, for this one here, it's going to be plus or minus b divided by ax. Right? Your slope is always rise over run. So I'm just pulling off the b and then dividing by a here. All right, so there's your equations of the asymptotes there. And therefore the slope is plus or minus b divided by a. Now the slope is always your tangent. So that's going to equal tangent of 30 degrees. And tangent of 30 degrees is square root of 3 divided by 3. Therefore b, solving for if we have negative b divided by a equals square root of 3 divided by 3, and you solve for b, you're going to get b equals plus or minus square root of 3 divided by a. Now I'm going to call that equation 2. And the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute my b from equation 2 into my b for equation 1. So that's going to, if I can squeeze it in here, no, I'll just do it on a different slide. So that's going to give you a squared, remember we had a squared plus b squared equals 8. All right, so we have a squared plus, and then my b squared was, or my b was plus or minus square root of 3 divided by 3a squared, and this all equals 8. Simplifying this, we're going to get, the negative's going to cancel out. So you're going to get a squared plus 3a squared divided by 9 equals 8. So this is going to simplify to 4/3. A squared equals 8. And that means our a squared equals 6. 24 divided by 3. Now that we have a squared equals 6, we know that a equals, if you square root both sides, a equals plus or minus square root of 6. And once you find a, and since our transverse axis is horizontal, the length of the transverse axis is 2a, right? Because the transverse axis is going to be this part A and this part is A. So our 2 times A is going to be 2, and we're just going to take the positive square root of 6 because we're talking about the length. Length has to be positive. So that's going to be 2 times the square root of 6. And we just write it like this. And that's it. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.